The 26th of March, 1953. What kind of nightmare makes a man keep moving forward when his rifle clicks empty? The screams of wounded Marines claw at his ears, and the ground beneath him is slick with blood frozen by the Korean winter. And would you, if surrounded by that horror, still charge straight into enemy fire, knowing you will not come back? On that brutal night near Panmunjom during the Korean War, U.S. Navy Hospital, Corpsman 2nd Class Francis C. Hammond, attached to the 1st Marine Division, stepped into a reality that pushed the limits of human endurance. A battlefield where darkness hid enemy trenches, artillery flashes lit the sky like sudden lightning, and every breath tasted of smoke, metal, and fear. Yet Hammond moved forward, not as a man seeking glory, but as a medic whose only mission was to keep others alive, crawling through open ground, swept by machine gun fire to reach wounded Marines who were crying out for help, dragging them back with hands numbed by cold and soaked in blood, his medical bag growing lighter as bodies around him piled higher, each second stretching like an eternity as enemy rounds snapped inches from his head. Earlier that night, when the Chinese forces launched a sudden and violent counterattack, Hammond repeatedly exposed himself to direct fire to administer first aid, ignoring shrapnel wounds tearing into his own body, and witnesses later recalled the unnatural calm in his face as he worked, as if the chaos around him had faded into silence. Yet the battlefield was anything but silent. Men screamed in agony, flares hissed overhead, and the dead lay twisted in shapes no living body should ever take. Eyes open and glassy, staring into nothing. And in one chilling moment, as Hammond reached a Marine whose legs had been nearly severed, the man begged him not to leave, his voice fading as blood pooled into the dirt. And Hammond stayed, holding him, knowing every extra second increased the chance of his own death. As the enemy closed in and the defensive line began to buckle, Hammond picked up a rifle and fought alongside the Marines, firing until his ammunition was gone. And when the weapon went silent in his hands, when logic and self-preservation should have forced him to retreat, he instead fixed his bayonet and charged forward into the enemy assault. A medic trained to heal, running headlong into death to draw fire away from the wounded men behind him. And those who saw it later said it was like watching a man step into a storm on purpose, knowing the lightning would strike him first. He was hit again and again, but even after collapsing, he struggled to rise, driven by a final instinct to protect others, until a fatal burst of enemy fire ended his charge. His body falling just yards from the attackers he had slowed, buying precious moments for his unit to reorganize and survive. The horror of that night stayed with the Marines who lived, some recalling the smell of burned flesh mixed with cordite, others remembering how the moonlight reflected off Hammond's helmet as he ran forward, alone, a single figure against a wall of gunfire. And in the days that followed, men who rarely spoke of fear admitted they were haunted by the image of a medic who refused to retreat, whose courage felt almost supernatural in the face of such terror. Hammond's actions were later recognized with the Medal of Honor, but no medal could fully capture what it meant to crawl through that killing ground, for hear bones crunch under boots, to feel warm blood freeze on your skin, and still choose to advance when every human instinct screams to run. And as you picture that moment, the empty rifle, the fixed bayonet, the final charge into darkness, ask yourself this and leave your answer below. If you were standing there on the 26th of March, 1953, surrounded by wounded brothers and closing enemy fire, would you have found the courage to charge anyway? Or would the horror have finally stopped you?